Welcome back to Fantasy Football. Today, it's now time for the start of the week for week number 1. And oh my gosh, I hope Raheem Mostert comes out and has a monster game against the Detroit Lions. But you know what? It's the Detroit Lions, so I'm not that concerned. The Lions defense, not expected to be that great. They were terrible against the run last year. Top 3 in fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. The 49ers, as bad as they were last year, top 3 in fantasy points scored by their running backs. And Mostert's going to be the lead running back to start. I think Trey Sermon has some sleeper appeal for week number 1, but you're not starting him just yet. As long as Mostert is the guy, I think he's going to have a big season. I don't know what you guys are doing. Get on the other side of that. He's underrated based on what Sportsline thinks. I think this is a huge game for Raheem Mostert. He's mad that people are writing him off. I think he's going to come out and destroy the Detroit Lions in week 1. We're going to show you our starts and sits for the upcoming week, and let's start with the other guys that I'm going to show you that I like as well. You can see the full start-sit column on CBS Sports. But I think Ryan Tannehill comes out and has a big game against the Cardinals. Miles Sanders, I know we were a little concerned about him, but he's got the Falcons. I think that's a good setup for him this week. James White, one of my favorite under-the-radar plays. I think he's going to have a big game against the Dolphins with Captain Checkdown Mac Jones leaning on him. Robbie Anderson gets the revenge game, and Laviska Shenault has that great matchup against the Jaguars. So there's the starts for me, along with Raheem Mostert. Let's show you now Dave's starts for week number 1. A lot of interesting names on this list. Some names I'm certainly in agreement with you on this one, Dave. But you got Jalen Hurts, Chase Edmonds, Juju, Tyler Boyd, and Marquise Brown. Let's talk about those AFC North receivers not named Tyler Boyd, Juju, and Marquise.
Juju had 6 catches, 55 yards, a touchdown against Buffalo, and that's what Buffalo wants you to do. Not score touchdowns, obviously, but lots of short passes, dinking and dunking to the middle of the field. And what better guy for Roethlisberger to get rid of the ball quickly to than Juju Smith-Schuster, who runs a bunch of short area routes. He plays out of the slot. You guys know this. Volume is going to be his friend, and I do think he does have a chance to score even against that Buffalo defense. Marquise Brown, I love. The matchup against the Raiders is great. Las Vegas' pass rush isn't very good. Their secondary has some serious problems to it. Look at how he's done the past 2 years. He's been outstanding. Lamar Jackson the past 2 years has been outstanding. And the way he finished last year, the Ravens unlocked how to use him. I'm happy he's healthy now. I think he's got potential to finish as a top 24 wideout this week. Very excited about where he could end up being.
He 45 combined PPR points in his last 2 season openers, over 100 yards receiving in each of those games. So hopefully he makes it 3 for 3 and keeps it going. Is Tyler Boyd a start in non-PPR also, or just PPR?
I prefer him in PPR and half PPR than non-PPR, but I kind of feel the same way about him as I do Juju. Burrow's got to get rid of the ball quickly against Minnesota. That defense is going to come after him. Boyd's going to be the easiest target.
He might be their best receiver this week with Jamar Chase still working through the drop concerns, a story about how he's looking at the different footballs from college to the NFL. Interesting read there if you want to keep an eye on Jamar Chase. I'm a little concerned about him for week number 1. Heath, your starts. Another great list of players here that people can buy into. DeAndre Swift and Mike Davis, 2 running backs that were drafted as starters but have some question marks. Adam Thielen, Marcus Callaway, and then Austin Hooper at the tight end spot. So let's talk about Swift and Davis. Swift healthy, so that's a good sign. Davis should have an opportunity to dominate the workload there against the Eagles.
Yeah, 2 different game scripts that probably suit both players pretty well. Mike Davis, in one of the few times this season, I think that we'll see him as a home favorite against an Eagles defense I don't expect to be very good. This should be a high-scoring game. I like his touchdown odds, like his odds of getting 15 to 20 touches as well. DeAndre Swift, an underdog against a very good defense. That's okay because Anthony Lynn's his offensive coordinator, and Swift has shown us that he can be very good in losses. Last year, they lost their last 4 games by a combined 70 points. He still averaged 15.5 PPR fantasy points in those games. This is a guy who scored 10 touchdowns on a terrible offense last year. He's going to be a top 12 running back this year on a terrible offense again.
Dave, we had a lot of conversation about Swift and his draft stock, and now you get to actually put it into action. So do you like him against the 49ers, or are you a little bit concerned?
I like him in full PPR leagues only. I think that's going to be where his value is going to be most weeks. I do think he's got a chance to finish as a number 2 running back in that format because I think they're going to have to dump the ball off quite a bit. I just don't trust Jared Goff to throw downfield 10-plus yards very often. I think he'll check down to Heath's guy, Swift, quite a bit, and that'll rack up his numbers.
Hope so. 49ers were top 10 in receptions allowed to running backs last year, so we'll see if that carries over this year, containing those 2 running backs and how much Jamal Williams will play in passing down situations. Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.